Foreign Secretary James Cleverley, who joins us. Good morning to you.
Julia, good morning.
25 minutes delivering the keynote speech to try and sort of win back some of the wavering Tories, some of whom even supported her for the leadership. What does Liz Truss have to say today to reunite the party?
Well, look, what I'm seeing is the queue of people who are already looking to get into the auditorium to listen to the Prime Minister's speech. And I think what she will do, what she will want to do, is to reinforce the points that she made during her leadership campaign, that we need to get growth back into the UK economy, that we need to cut taxes for those millions, tens of millions of hard-working families who have seen their taxes gently go up and up and up, because we need to get a real rocket boost under the growth in our economy. And of course she will also want to restate her enduring support for the people of Ukraine as they defend themselves. I'm sure she'll have some other things that she'll want to put across. I don't want to, steal her thunder. I don't think that's a very good prospect. But look, she will.
But it's a tough job. There's no doubt at all. I mean, you would normally expect a honeymoon period, and I speak bounce in the polls. Well, there's been a bounce in the polls, but it ain't been for the Conservatives. It's been for Labour Party. 33 points ahead at one point. Now, roughly, 20 points ahead. Top, pollsters and experts saying, look, basically, if it carries on like this, Labour are going to win the next general election. She's only got 2 years. Many who even support her policies and in favour of, what she's doing and the stance she has, are still worried that actually she's not going to be able to deliver enough growth, if at all, any, in the next couple of years before you have to go to the polls again.
Well, look, those opinion polls ridiculously volatile. As you said, was it 33 points ahead last week, 20 points ahead? On that rate, in another couple of weeks' time, Labour will be back behind.
I like that optimistic, Mark.
But the point is, we've got a couple of years between now and the next general election. We will, of course, need to demonstrate that the Prime Minister's plans are coming into action. People will want to see growth in the economy. But, of course, by that point, they will have already seen those tax cuts coming through into their pay slips. They will have already felt the very significant support that we're given for their energy bills, and they will have started to see some of those infrastructure projects that have been delayed for so long coming on stream, unlocking the growth in the UK. That's what the Prime Minister's committed to. That's what we'll take to the British people.
But this is a very big issue for Conservatives, though, because actually a huge amount of help has been announced, whether it's the domestic energy bills or business energy bills. We've spoken to two representatives of business today, both of whom very, very, very happy about government policies and very supportive on that front. But the reality is people are going to feel poorer this winter. People are still, even with all the help on the domestic energy bills, going to be seeing roughly twice their energy bills from last year. Most families in this country just get by. They don't have a spare £1.50 for an extra energy bill. They just simply don't have that money. We're seeing everyday prices on everyday goods going up hugely. Yeah. Inflation may peak and then go down again. We are seeing people's mortgages going up. So whether you are middle class and doing okay, whether you're at the bottom of the pile and really struggling with every penny, everybody is going to be feeling the pinch this winter. The reality is, despite all the help that the government has been offering businesses and domestic households, they're going to blame you. You're the people in charge.
So we absolutely recognise that when you're in government, you are the ones who have to carry the burden of that responsibility. But actually being in government means that you can make decisions to help those people. And you're right, we know this is going to be a tough winter. We know that there has been a ripple effect because, in significant part, because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. That's hit food prices, that's hit energy prices, that has been a part driver for inflation. But we also know that in the UK we've had very, very low levels of economic growth for quite a protracted period of time. Liz
under the Conservatives?
Well, look, and that's why Liz says we've got to do things differently. And now I know that there will be plenty of people who will really feel the pinch this year. We know that. That's why we put the energy support package in for both people and businesses, as you say. That's why we want to allow them to keep more of the money they earn. That's why we want to get wage growth and economic growth into the UK.
But is that going to be enough when we've got all the productivity, all the other problems, and we've already got, infighting within the cabinet? I mean, to see infighting in a cabinet appointed pretty much of, Liz Truss's oldest friends, like yourself, like the Chancellor, as well, Kwasi Kwarteng. Only loyalists need apply was basically the message that Liz Truss said. And she's already got dissent. We've had, Penny Mordaunt speaking out on what she thinks should happen when it comes to the uprating of benefits, whether it should be price inflation or wage inflation. situation when Liz Truss, the Prime Minister, her boss, has already said we haven't decided that yet. Now, that level of dissent would not be tolerated by, you know, the great heroine of Liz Truss, Margaret Thatcher. Do you think that she needs to start making it clear, maybe, I don't know, starting to sack ministers who don't toe the line?
Well, look, I've always...
Would you?
I'm not Prime Minister, I'm Foreign Secretary.
If you were Prime Minister?
I'm not Prime Minister. I've got a brilliant Prime Minister. Liz Truss appointed people that she knows can do their job very, very, very well. But my view, call it old-fashioned, is that the best way of feeding ideas into the Prime Minister when you're a minister and you have access to the Chancellor, to the Prime Minister, is through the usual process, through Cabinet Committee.
So private conversations behind closed doors, not in the media?
So that's always been
Is that your message to Penny Mordaunt and others? Stop talking about this stuff publicly? Could go and talk to the Prime Minister behind closed doors?
What I'm saying is that when you're a minister, you have collective responsibility. We make decisions collectively. We implement those decisions collectively. And the best way of doing that effectively is to feed your ideas in through the usual process, through traditional process. And once the decision's been made, and it's not been made yet, as you say, once the decision has been made, then we implement it as a team.
OK. And what do you think that decision should be?
As I say...
Let's try. You're not going to tell us?
No, I'm not going to tell you because...
Do you have a personal opinion?
I have ideas, but the bottom line is that I will feed those ideas in through the usual way, collectively, and we'll come to...
How much does Liz Truss listen? How much does Kwasi Kwarteng listen, in your experience, feeding ideas in privately behind the scenes? Because it would appear that they didn't listen ahead of the 45p tax.
So they absolutely do listen. Actually, the 45p tax situation was an example of them listening very
after
intently.
The fact.
But the point is, Kwasi, the Chancellor, put across a wide-ranging package of measures, including support for energy bills at home and for business, including that cut to the income tax, that 20p down to 19p, which has a positive effect on millions of people.
For which you're not getting any credit.
Well, that's the point. The point is, when everyone's talking about the 45p tax rate, which was only
Whose fault is that?
Which was only ever a very small, very, very small part of that overall package, the better to get that off the table so we can focus on the things that really matter to the vast majority of British people.
OK, I mean, in terms of how things can be turned around, a lot of it's going to be the actual policies to get that growth. It's interesting in terms of the perception. We spoke to a pollster earlier who did polling for Theresa May when she was in number 10, saying the word people used to use a month ago about, it feels like a long time ago, Liz Truss was determined. Now the main word they use is incompetent. How does she prove that she's competent?
Well, as people see the plans that she put forward be implemented, as they can see the positive effects it will have on their pay slips, as they can see those that money supporting them for energy bills coming into their bank accounts, as they can see those infrastructure projects coming online, they will increasingly see why the proposition that the Prime Minister has put forward will work for them and work for the country as a whole.
Let's also talk about your brief as Foreign Secretary. Ukraine obviously is the #1 foreign policy issue. There have been some extraordinary successes for Kyiv in the last few days, weeks, pushing back, even in the Donbass region, which, after those completely fake referendums, Putin has claimed to have control, but actually his forces are falling away. What's been the change, and what can be done by Britain and our allies in the coming days, weeks, months to make sure that Ukraine can actually win this war?
Well, Ukraine has to win this war. The stakes could not be higher, and it's not just about Ukraine. It's about the international community sending the message to would-be aggressors around the world that we will stand shoulder to shoulder with people defending their sovereignty, their territorial integrity, and defending the UN Charter, which keeps us all safe. Why are the Ukrainians being successful? I think it's a range of reasons. Firstly, because they are defending their homeland, and they are doing so like tigers. And I've spoken to Ukrainian members of Parliament and Ukrainian delegates here.
Ukrainian ambassador is here this week.
Ukrainian ambassador. And these are such admirable people, and they are fighting ferociously, as I predicted they would. Also, of course, the international community supporting them with arms and equipment. The UK very much in...
Are our European allies doing enough? There's been some lots of criticism about Germany at one point. I mean, frankly, at one point, the Russians had the Ukrainians had more tanks from Russia than they got from the likes of Germany. But France, there's a question marks about France's commitment.
So look, so we are we are absolutely determined. And look, I'm not here as a spokesperson for the French government and German government. I speak with them regularly, and I know that they are determined to ensure that Ukraine is successful in defence. Germany have massively changed their foreign policy in response to Russian aggression, admirably so. France are pushing very, very hard, as are the US and others. It's a real team effort because, as I say, the stakes could not be higher. We have to defend, we have to help Ukraine defend itself, and we have to defend freedom across the world.
Let me also ask you about something that's happened this week back in the UK. A TV show on Channel 5, Britain on the Brink, hosted by Jeremy Vine. An NHS staff nurse, Miranda Hughes, had this to say about how she feels about Conservatives. Let's have a little watch and a little listen.
If you are there to do a job as a compassionate person, there are no resources, and you are told persistently on the news that, you know, care homes are being ring-fenced. It's a lie, and I'm sorry, but if you have voted Conservative, you do not deserve to be resuscitated by the NHS.
Hang on.
Well, the reaction from the rest of the audience was pretty horrified. She talked about being a compassionate person, James Cleverley, and then saying if you're a Tory voter, God knows what she thinks of Tory cabinet ministers, you don't deserve to be resuscitated by the NHS. Your response to that?
Well, I think the audience response to that was really, really telling. That is clearly a very, very extreme and a very, very, very minority view. The fact that that was responded to with gasps and horror and shock by the audience says it. I would just say, if you define yourself as a compassionate person and you think the best way of displaying compassion is letting someone die because you don't agree with their politics, then maybe, just maybe, you're not quite as compassionate as you think.
Do you think she should still have a job in the NHS? She's now a teacher of nurses rather than actually working on the wards, but would you want to be treated by her?
Look, I think so. I'd be very, very concerned if and I cannot imagine for one instant that she is actually trying to put those views across to the people she is instructing.
But you still have an issue as a nasty party, don't you? The 45p thing, that was a problem as well. Is that still part of the image problem for the Tory party?
That kind of vitriol is a real minority view. I meet plenty of people who don't vote for me, who are wonderfully pleasant and polite. They disagree with me, but they're wonderful people. That kind of extremist view really has no place in society.
Okay, Foreign Secretary James Cleverley, great to have you on the show. Thank you very much indeed.